The 19th of November, Rabbi Levitt, Gemora.
Okay.
So we're up to Amar Rav Papa. Rav Papa Amar. 20 lines down on Chaf Hey Amid Aleph.
Rav Papa Omer. Rav Papa said, Ha v'ha v'tarno upare. Both this baraita and that baraita can be dealing with a basket and produce. Below kashya, and still there is no difficulty. Or the ishtayer ba medoi. For this second brisa, which requires the finder return the produce, refer to a case where some produce remains in the basket. Or delo ashtayer ba midday. Whereas this first brisa, which permits the finder to keep the produce, refers to a case where no produce remains in the basket.
Okay, so from that we could figure out what the question was. The question was, we were talking about in the first brisa. The first brisa said that that if you have matzakli ulafun of peros, case ulafun of mos, the din is hare elu shelo. You could keep the mos and you could keep the peros because they were not in the kli. You can assume that they didn't fall from the kli. That's what Rashi explained the brisa. But then in the Raminu, we had seemingly the very same case. That's the way Rashi explained it, at least. Davashesh bo simin, b'tzad davashem bo simin. Rashi said, "Kagon mos lifnei kis." The same type of thing. The kli and the in other words, the case, the wallet, and the $1,000 next to it, but no money inside the wallet. So that was the but over there, that second brisa, what did it say? It said that said Haid L'chachris. Said you have to announce the whole kit and caboodle. Can't keep anything. So that's the question that we're trying to solve. So we're saying both cases are talking about a basket and fruit. And the first case that says Harei L'Shelo is because all the fruit fell out of the basket, or there's no fruit in the basket, rather. And we're assuming that no fruit fell out of the basket. But in the second case, we're assuming that the fruit that's on the ground fell out of the basket because the same fruit's also in the basket. That's Rav Papa's answer.
So what's the business with a siman?
There's no siman on the fruit. The fruit is just fruit. Mm-hmm. There's a siman on the basket. So the basket, the person gives a siman on. Mm-hmm. And the second brisa says that if he gives a siman on the basket, he'll be able to take the fruit as well.
Well, what am I reading? I'm reading here in English that this is going back a bit. If one found an object that does not have an identifying mark next to an object that has an identifying mark, he's obligated to announce the entire find.
That's the second brisa that contradicts the first brisa.
Right.
The first brisa said the din in such a case was hare elu shelo. Mm-hmm. So the first brisa says if you found a case and it has money in front of the case, it says Hare Elu Shalo, meaning the money you could keep. You don't have to announce the fact that something was found on the ground. The money you could keep. The keys has a identifiable simmons. The one who gives the simon will take the keys, but he won't take the money because we don't assume that the money fell from the keys. That's why it says Hare Elu Shalo, that he could keep the money.
Mhm.
But in the second brisa says Hayv lahachris. And Rashi said Hayv lahachris alakol. V'yitnu amos lebalakis. And you give the money to the one who proves that the keys belongs to him with a simon. But there's no simon on the money. So that's the contradiction. Why is the second brisa say that you have to be machriz everything? And if the guy gives a simon on the keys, you give him the keys and also the money that was on the ground. Now Rav Papa seems to be saying that second brisa was talking about that there was some left in there was in both we're not talking about money and we're not talking about a keys. The second brisa didn't say clearly what we were talking about. It said matzah davar sheyesh bo siman. Something was found that had a siman next to something that was found that didn't have. And Rashi said in the Havamina, when we were asking the question, that we're talking about money that was found next to a wallet. Now Rav Papa is explaining that no, that the both brises, they're both talking about tzina of a period, a basket and fruit. And the difference is that in the second case, ha di ishtar bo midi, ha de lo ishtar bo midi. We have a Rashi.
Let's see.
Rashi's going to explain it. Yeah, the Rashi is a little bit different girsa than the Gemora, actually.
Yeah, there is.
It'll be Rashi Dira Maskil Ha Diktani Chayev Bide Ishtayer. I'm assuming that's our.
Okay, I'm not sure. Well, let's see. Okay, that is that it's taught. It's chayiv what remains in the basket. The ekel lamema to say inech from these the abreya minena fell from this item it fell. Now, what would be an abreya?
Oh, sorry.
So I don't know.
Hadiktani Chayev Ishtayer Ve'ikel Meimar Hanach de Avroi. Hanach de
What's
Avroi.
Avroi?
Avroi comes from the word base resh aleph, which is same as
Created.
brisa, which means outside. So Hanak da Avroi, these that are outside Mine, from the Ikala Memor Hanak da Avroi Mine Nofal. These fruits, we're talking about fruits in a basket, right? The fruits are on the ground, but we're saying that the second brisa says Chayev lahakris on everything is talking about bidi shtayr, that they remained, meaning that there were some of the fruits that remained in the basket didn't fall. And therefore, says Rashi, Ikal there is to conclude and say, Hanach, these ones that are outside the basket on the ground, no, from the basket, they fell. With the fruit on the ground. Now, describing the brisa that okay, everybody here?
We lost you for a second. Now you're back.
Okay. So, Louis, about a little above halfway down the Rashi column.
Can you hear us, Rabbi Levitt?
Yeah.
All right.
You want to read that? Can you hear me?
Can't hear you. You're frozen.
Okay.
Well,
We go different. All right. Lou, can you?
I heard you say Lou, but I didn't hear what you said after Lou.
It's usually not like this, right? Baruch Hashem.
We're hearing like a few words and then silence.
Uh-huh. Okay. Has something to do with the fact that I mistakenly pressed this AI thing, and it's over here. It's probably making trouble.
Yeah, that's a good theory.
I don't know how to get it off. Oh, in any case, you can hear me now.
yes.
Now I can hear
Okay.
you. Yes.
Okay, so now let's go to the next Rashi.
I have to leave, so let me just do this next Rashi and then I'll leave.
Okay.
Nothing remained. There were no remains in the basket. Kaden, the stam meaning is tzana. That tzana is a basket. Yesh lo ogneim kafulim. There are it's like ogen is like it's like an anchor. It's like protected on the two sides within it. E metocho nofal. If from that it fell, u mitzayer bayu, it would remain in the basket. the ognam me'akfei lay, because the baskets are like prevented. You know, that's so these whatever you're calling it, there are ways of something that's stopping it from falling, and that's why it won't fall.
Yeah, right. We had this word when we were talking about the river, that
Right.
the river had these
Banks on the
impediments that were stopping the things from flowing down the river, so it won't go
Right.
down the river very far. So over here, we're saying the same thing about this this basket, and Rashi's saying, "Kaven de stam sina," since in an ordinary scenario, in other words, an ordinary basket, yesho oganim, fully matocho. It's got these rims or these impediments that are in the basket. So therefore, imitocho nofal, from that basket, there would be something that would start to fall out of the basket. Have mishtayer be the ogde ma'atvele. It wouldn't fall completely out of the basket because the opening would hold it back and prevent it from falling out completely onto the ground. Oh, well, 1 second over here. Right. So therefore, if we see it is such type of a basket, we see fruit on the ground, we will say, oh, that fruit that's on the ground did not fall out of that basket, because the basket would have, it's got these opening that would have stopped the fruit from falling out completely onto the ground. So therefore, that's why the first brisa saying if you got the fruit on the ground next to the basket, Hari elu shelo, meaning the fruit is the finder can keep it. All he has to be machriz is the basket, because the basket has a simon.
Okay, I'm going to be leaving now. Take care. Be well.
Okay, all the best.
Thank you.
Phil.
See you, Phil.
Hey, Phil.
Once I figure out how to leave. Oh, there it is.
Okay, now we're up to E-Boyce Ema. And Lou is asked to read E-Boyce Ema.
Iboyes ema. Or if you prefer, say ha v'ha v'lo ish tayar ba mide. Both this brisa and that brisa refer to cases where nothing remains in the basket. V'lo kasha, and it's not a difficulty. Ha dime hadre apai l'gabe payray. For this second brisa, which requires the finder to return the produce, refers to a case where the opening of the basket faces the produce, the produce. Ha delo mihad re ape legabe payray. Whereas this first brisa, which permits the finder to keep the produce, refers to a case where the opening of the basket is not facing the produce.
Uh-huh. So, So we have the opening of the basket facing the produce and not facing the produce. If it's facing the produce, so then there's room to say that it's the fruit that fell on the ground there. The fruit that is on the ground must have fell from this basket, because the opening where the basket is right in the direction of where the fruit is. So it does look like the fruit fell out of the basket onto the ground. And incidentally, for some reason, they're not talking about it, but I guess they figure that it's clear, doesn't even need to be said, that the basket itself must be on its side. You could see that the basket fell down. I don't know why they don't mention that, but I don't know. But it seems like this is what you have to add on to the explanation, that because you're already saying that the opening of the basket is facing where the fruit is on the ground. So that sounds like the basket fell down and the opening is on so it's on its side. The basket's on its side, and the opening is facing where the fruit is. Whereas so therefore in that case we say hayv lahakris, meaning in regard to the fruit. The fruit is not there for the taking. The fruit is going to be you have to be makris the basket, and the fruit will be given to the one who identifies the basket is his through a simon. But the first brisa that says harelu shelo, that the finder keeps the fruit, is because the opening of the basket is not facing towards the fruit; it's facing away from the fruit, and so therefore it's clear that the fruit did not fall from the basket, even though it does seem clear that the basket itself did fall down, if its opening is facing towards the fruit.
Sorry to bother. Oh, that was easy.
Okay. Do we have a Rashi on that? Oh, we have a Rashi from the previous case with the Oganim. Oh, the Ispe Oganim? Or maybe that's later in the Gemora. No, we didn't see that yet. Okay. Okay, Rashi mentioned Oganim before, but the Gemora didn't mention it. Okay, so now we're going to come to this next answer. In other words, we have a second Ibois Ema. So now we're ready for the second Ibois Ema. The Ibois Ema. So, Lou, once again, would you like to read?
The Ibois Ema, or if you prefer, say ha v'ha dimihadre ape legabe pere. Both this price and that price heard cases where the opening of the basket is facing the produce. Velokasha, and there's no difficulty. Ha deis le oganin litzana. For this first price, which permits the finder to keep the produce, refers to a case where the basket has a rim. Ha deles le oganin litzana. Whereas this second price, which requires the finder to return the produce, refers to a case where the basket does not have a rim.
Rim, that's what it's called, a rim. Okay.
Yeah.
So the rim will hold the fruit from, will hold it back. The rim will hold the fruit back from falling out from the basket onto the ground. So we have a Rashi over here. Oh, we could have had Roy read that Boy Sema. Oh, I made a mistake. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so Lou, would you like to read the Rashi? Hod Isle Uganin.
here that there is a brim. Love mine nafal dei mine nafal hava mishtayir be midei.
Oh, that's what it's saying. Oh, I got it. Okay, good. Good.
Okay, what is mine?
From it, in other words, from the kli.
So lav mine nafal, it did not fall from it. D'i mine nafal, that if it fell, hava mishtayer. What's mishtayer?
Remain.
It would remain bay midday. It would remain in the basket.
Yes, having mishtar be midi. Something would have remained in the basket. Midi means some. It's referring to the fruits. Some of them would have remained in the basket. We're saying that since it has rims, even though it fell down, and even though we have to acknowledge that there are, remember, here we're talking about a case. This Iboy Sema is saying, I can tell you a difference between the two brises, even though both brises are talking where the sal has fallen down, and the opening of the sal is facing the fruit. And still, I could explain that there's going to be a chilik between the first brisa and the second brisa. First brisa says, "Harei l'shalo," the finder can keep the fruit. The second brisa says, "Hayv lahakris," the finder cannot keep the fruit. He's got to give it to the one that identifies the kli. So, what's the difference? So the Iboy Sema says the whole difference is because this case, this brisa has the sal has rims at the opening of the sal, and the other brisa is talking about there's no rims on that sal. Rashi explains what's the difference between having rims and not. If the sal has rims, so then Rashi says if there will be fruit that will fall out from the kli, nevertheless, it's got to be that the rims will hold back some of the fruit, so you won't find all of the fruit on the ground. So we're talking about a case. Oh, so now what's the which case is which? Rashi doesn't finish up the point for you. You got to finish it up yourself. Based upon the information Rashi is giving us, the Isle Uganim. This price is talking about that there are rims, that there's a rim on that sal. That sal's got rims. So therefore, if that sal has rims, so we say, Rashi says that we find fruit on the ground, right? We're finding fruit on the ground. Did we find any fruit in the sal? No, we didn't find any fruit in the sal. If so, says Rashi, so then we've got to say, says Rashi, that fruit that's on the ground did not come from that sal. Why? Because since it has oganin, perforce some of the fruit would have been held back because of the rim. So you would have had a scenario where you would have found some peros on the ground, and some of the peros would also still be left in the kli. And here we're talking about a case that there is nothing left in the kli. So therefore, says Rashi, we can conclude from that case of the oganin that these peros did not fall from that kli. And therefore, that is the brisa. That is the brisa. Rashi doesn't say all this, but we're just finishing the Rashi that and explaining how we're answering the case now. Therefore, that is the brisa. Rashi's explaining that the one that has the rims, that's the brisa, which says that these peros that are on the ground right next to the kli, even though the opening of the kli is facing directly in front of those peros, that those peros did not fall from this kli. Whereas in the other brisa, where we're saying that the other brisa, the peros that are the kli is facing directly in front of the opening of the kli. The opening of the kli is facing directly towards the peros. That kli does not have oganin, and therefore we're going to say that since the kli, the opening of the kli is facing towards those peros on the ground, that will tell us that those peros did fall from that kli, and therefore that's the second brisa that says you're chayv lahachris. And to the one who gives the siman on the kli, the finder will have to return the peros to the one who proves that the kli belongs to him, because we're making a connection between the peros and the kli, because we're saying that peros did fall from that kli. Okay. Good.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Oh, okay, that's that. Okay, you saved me from having to call on Roy again, and then having Roy say, but it's time already, Rabbi. Okay.
Okay.
All the best, everybody.
Okay.
Have
Have a great day. Feel good.
All of you.
Gesund und stark.